Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him. Hola, bienvenidos. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Melissa Alatorre. Join the family, hit that subscribe button. Today I am doing a pro makeup tips video on brushes. This actually comes highly requested from my good friend and also now assistant, Bianca. So Bianca, I know you're watching this, shout out. I'm gonna do this makeup look while highlighting my favorite brushes as I use them. And also at the end, I'm gonna go over any that I didn't actually get to use on my face. It's a lot. Grab a pen and paper, take some notes, and if that doesn't work for you guys, don't worry, it's all listed in the description box. But if you want to see them in action, just keep on watching. Kicking things off with a super basic tool that I consider an essential every single day, every hour, every minute, every second, because my brows are crazy and dog fur on my face. That is a spoolie brush. Any spoolie brush will do. I have so many. This one's from Sephora. It's the Pro Brow number 20 brush. So the other end is great for filling in your brows with a powder product, but the spoolie, always a must. I have so many. I have this one from Sephora. I have one from Smashbox. All of them are filled with dog fur, but a spoolie, definitely number one must have. I keep one in the bathroom also every time I do skincare. Brows, go to bed with them perfectly groomed. The next tool, the Ofra Beauty Sponge. This is not a beauty blender, even though I also love beauty blender. I tend to somehow always reach for this one more than all other sponges. It always gives me a super flawless application. It's so soft. I've been using this one for years now, and it's a great alternative to the beauty blender. I'm gonna use it to add some foundation to my eyelid. I've already prepped it with the Hourglass Veil eyeshadow primer to prevent creasing. And then I'm gonna use my Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation as my foundation today, and also on my eyelids as my base. The next brush, you're gonna see me mention this brand a few times because she came out with the most beautiful, amazing synthetic brushes I've ever used, and she is the blending queen, so it's no surprise. This first one is the LH Linda Hallberg Cosmetics 306 brush. It's a really versatile, fluffy brush. You can use it for powder, you can use it to blend, you can use it to highlight. I'm gonna use it to dust a little bit of powder on my eyelids before adding my eyeshadow. Eyeshadow brushes. I have so many favorites. Smith Cosmetics makes some of the best eyeshadow brushes. I feel like everybody on YouTube uses them. The shape, the quality, the fluffiness, the blend that you get from the eyeshadow brushes is just incredible. And I always use the same ones in all my videos, 232, 230. I can name them off the top of my head, 247. They're absolute favorites, and those are what I'm gonna use right now. I'm gonna start with 247. It looks like this. It's pinched at the top, as you guys can see right there. It's just a very, very versatile eyeshadow brush. If you were on a budget and could only use one eyeshadow brush, I would probably recommend this one. I'm gonna be using this Strawberry Shake palette from ColourPop. I'm gonna start with Woke to outline my eye shape and use it as a transition shade. So see how it just fits naturally into the crease of your eye? This one keeps it pretty precise, but still really soft. Now this is brush 230. The difference is that this one is not pinched at the top. It's a completely round barrel, so it's just like another option. I often alternate between the two brushes. I'm gonna use this brush to show you guys how I'm gonna add this really vibrant pink. So I would say this one's good for also the crease, being a little more precise. Great for blending out your eyeshadow once you've actually applied it, but keeping it more to a very precise area versus completely blowing it out. The last one I want to show you guys from this like range of brushes that are all pretty similar is 232. 232 looks just like 230, but a lot larger. So when you want a super blown out smoky eye, really want to get a super blend, that's when I would go for the bigger one. The smaller one, you can use it to apply eyeshadow, blend it out, and be precise. I also use this on the lower lash line sometimes as well. Another LH Cosmetics brush. This is a 303. This Real Techniques one is pretty equivalent. I'm always on the hunt for these in my brush pile. They're great for detail work, great for packing on eyeshadow in small areas on the eye. See, they're pretty similar, flat, dense, synthetic. I'm gonna use the 303 to be a little more precise and pack on some of that hot pink shadow right here, and also the inner corner. And then I'll usually use the Real Techniques on the lower lash line when I'm going back to the eyes later on. And you guys will hear me reference synthetic versus natural hair brushes a lot. The main difference you need to know is that if a brush has natural hairs, it should only be used with powdered products, because chances are if you use it with like a cream or a liquid, you're gonna ruin that brush. All the hairs will just fall out. Whereas with synthetic, you can use it both for powders, dry products, cream, liquids, everything. I'm pretty sure all the Smith ones are natural brush hairs, sustainably sourced. All of the other ones, I'm pretty sure are all synthetic. I'm gonna be using a shimmer on the lid, and when I really want it to pop, I'll use 100% synthetic, because I'm going to be misting the brush in order to get the most shimmer, the most pigment from that eyeshadow. And for that, I either use something, one of two options, something that's fluffy like this, just because I feel like it really picks up a shimmery shadow, or something flat, almost like a concealer brush, but it's not. This is, the flat one is an Urban Decay Medium Eyeshadow E207 brush. And then the other one is a Pro Shadow number 14 brush from Sephora. Or I'll use my finger. Simple solution. Let's use this one first, dry, the Sephora brush. So I'm gonna pick up this shimmery shade called Delish. I'm gonna press it onto the eyelid. And I'm also gonna kind of drag it up towards the brow bone. I always see Katie Jane Hughes do this. So you can see how that looks really soft. Now I'm gonna show you with the flat Urban Decay brush how to further intensify the lid if you wanted to. I always pick up the shadow first, because if you spray your brush before picking it up, you could start to ruin the shadow. You'll notice it'll start to get these really like hard chunks. Fix Plus, always a great option. Give it a mist. Not that much, that was a lot. Like, what? I'm trying to waste my Fix Plus here. You can pack it back on and it'll be 10 times shinier. Look at that. That looks like so reflective. Looks wet because it is wet. It just looks extra glossy, extra pigmented, extra shiny if you're going for that finish, but I like up here to stay subtle, so I'm gonna keep that with that dry application in the fluffy brush. And because this eyeshadow look is a little more precise, instead of going in with the Smith 232, I'm gonna go back in with the small 230, and I'm gonna use that to blend to keep that shadow shape and not change it. I think that's it for the eyes for now. I already prepped my skin with the Act 4 primer from Estee Lauder. Seriously, this stuff is so good. And I still haven't checked if it's limited edition. I'm too scared to look. But it gives me a really nice smooth finish. So I applied that with my fingers. Now I'm going to go in with the Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation. You guys know I love a paddle brush. I've used this often. Such a classic makeup tool. But whenever I use a primer, I like to just pat my foundation in as to not move around the primer. So I'm going to be using that same Ofra sponge to pat in my foundation. And I'm still using shade Y365, which is too dark, but for some reason on camera it never translates dark. It works with a light olive skin tone as long as you highlight properly afterwards to balance out the color. And by the way, this one is from Smashbox. It is a buildable foundation brush. I'm not really picky about paddle brushes. I just kind of like look at them and know I like them. Can't go wrong with a paddle brush. If you do it wrong, it's very questionable. Concealer. I will sometimes go directly with the Doe Foot applicator from a concealer. Sometimes I'll use a concealer brush, and this is another one from LH Cosmetics. This is a 305 concealer brush. It's a large applicator. I'm going to be using these two shades of the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer, shade 34 and shade 21. And I'm just going to mix them on the back of my hand. So I'm taking them and putting them back here. Equal amounts of both. And then with the little concealer brush, I'm going to mix them on the back of my hand. And I'm going to start applying it to the areas that I want to highlight, always underneath the eye. So if you're someone that likes to really be precise with your contouring, you can use the concealer brush to run it along the side of the nose. And then same thing with the bridge of the nose and the forehead. You can use the concealer brush to easily create a line down the middle like this. If your eyebrows get a little fuzzy, like the eyebrow product, you can use this to clean that out. I mean, it's just an essential. Clean up the lip. If your lip starts to bleed out, clean up your contour. And then going back in with the Ofra sponge to blend it out. And then I'm also gonna use that same sponge to set my entire, well, I'm gonna set under my eyes, and then I'm gonna show you another brush, just because I've shown this sponge a lot. I wanna show you another option for setting the rest of your face. So I'm gonna take the very end of this and dip it in. I think sometimes people think when they see this technique that it's a new clean sponge. It's the same one, it's okay. Clean up the creasing always first. And then I'm gonna press it in because it is the Cover FX powder, and With this one, I need to go in a little heavy. Need to do a little bit of a baking action underneath the eyes. If not, I will crease because it is a talc-free powder. So it's a little more forgiving on the skin, but you will end up creasing with this powder if you don't pack it on. So I let that sit under my eyes while I work on the rest of the face. Another brush that I like to use to set with powder is this Smashbox Full Coverage Foundation brush. It's a super dense kabuki brush, slightly angled. It's super soft, so it's going to nicely, evenly press the powder into your skin. It's not prickly. If a brush is too, like if you touch it on the back of your hand and it kind of stabs you a bit, it's going to not set as nicely. Whether it's powder or foundation, your application is going to be a little more, not as smooth. It's going to come out a little more textured. Also, my absolute favorite brush of all time that I can 100% recommend to you guys is this Hourglass double-ended brush. I use it for powder application, bronzer, highlight, blush, blending, literally everything. I could use it to set with powder right now, but I want to show you one more option because anytime I've shown it, I always get so many questions about it and what it is. And that is this powder puff that's a little black triangle, also from LH Cosmetics. I love the shape of this. It fits underneath the eyes, so technically I could have used this under the eyes as well. I'm going to use it right now to set the rest of my face, so I'm going to just dip it into my powder. You always want to work the powder into the puff. You don't want to just like let it sit there. And then I'm not going to use the side with the point. I'm going to use the flat side. And what you do, this one also has like a little pocket. So if you do want to use the point, you can put your finger in there like that. I'm going to use the round side. And then what you do is you do like a little press and roll motion across the entire face. It's nice and soft. It's flat. So it really just packs the powder on evenly. Now I can use my Hourglass brush. Everything will be linked down below, guys, because this one doesn't have a name on it. It just says Hourglass. I'm using the NARS Vallarta matte bronzer. I mean, both sides are tapered, but I love the shape of this end. The texture is so incredibly soft. I always say it's like a kitten paw, which like is not soft. I imagine a cat just going and whacking you in the face like Carol Baskin style. So I don't know how soft this brush is comparing it to a kitten paw, more like a bunny paw. Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him. I can't with that show. Please tell me you guys saw it. Kyle and I watched it before I feel like it became like a huge thing. We were just like skimming through Netflix, and the entire time I was like, is this real life? And I didn't want to post it on Instagram because I was like, oh my god, people are gonna think I'm like making fun of these people. And then it turned into this whole thing of everyone making fun of them. I was just like, oh, I don't want to make fun of them, like that's their lifestyle. And I'm like, so then with the larger side, I'm gonna use that to apply a shimmery bronzer to the forehead because it's gonna look a lot softer with this side of the brush. And for this, I just start at the hairline and then sweep downwards. While I'm using my bronzer, not the shimmery one, I'm gonna go back to the matte one. I'm gonna use a clean Smith 230. Another way to use your Smith 230 brush is to contour the sides of the nose or add a little bit of shading there. It's the perfect little tapered blending brush to add some shading here. Also underneath the lower lip. And then I can wipe away the powder on my under eyes using, wow, I think I've broken my record of not dropping something in a video until just now. But I'm going back in with that LH306 that I first used to set my eyelids before eyeshadow. So I could use that same LH brush, the 303 on the lower lash line, but I do want to show you guys. I also want to show you guys the Real Techniques one in action, one of my favorites. It's so tiny, I always struggle to find it in my brush stash because it gets lost. First, we're going to go in with Woke. And then the hot pink shade. Take a sip. This shadow, by the way, has like the prettiest little flecks of glitter in it. You just can't see it on camera, which is a shame. Then going in with this Morphe M213. I've had this brush for so long. I hope they still make it. It's just like a great little detail brush. It's fluffy, it's not stiff. And for this, I use it when I want to get into here or even like the inner corner. I'm going to use it to add the shimmery shade right here. And then if you get fallout, that brush from the very beginning, you can just use it to sweep away that little bit of sparkle that landed on the face. And then for the final step in the eyes, I feel like I could use a really precise blend. So I'm gonna use a clean Smith 247, the one that's pinched, because I like that it's flat, so it's gonna keep the eyeshadow where it's placed versus something that's really tapered and round and fluffy. I could have applied the shimmer with this as well, but again, I was just trying to show you guys a variety of brushes, but it's definitely a must-have in a brush collection. Final touches on the face, blush. I just want to show you guys how I apply this MAC Glow Play Blush in my favorite shade, So Natural. This is like a very interesting putty-like texture. Can you guys see that? It almost looks like creamy. So for this one, I love this blurring foundation brush by Smashbox, another really dense kabuki. And where this is different than the first one I showed, the full coverage foundation, is that this one has a little more movement to it. Do you see that? Whereas this one's like super, super dense. So with this one, I just swirl the kabuki brush into it and then pat it in. I'm gonna mist myself one time with the Fix Plus and then highlight. This highlight, you guys, we're gonna get a little bougie, okay? Dior. It's so stunning. It's like a super soft, like petal pink shade. It is called the Dior Skin Nude Luminizer Lolly Glow. Oh my God, it's so pretty. And I love applying it with this Sephora number 96 Pro Blush Brush. I could also use my Hourglass one for this if I wanted to, but I love the shape of this one. It's pinched at the base, so it's semi-flat, also tapered, has like a little bit of like a, see how it's like rounded out, but the sides are a little more narrow. I love doing a sweeping motion when adding a highlight to kind of like the apples of the cheek, so like right here. See that? It adds such a nice glow, and it adds it in a much softer manner than like a very concentrated brush, which if I wanted more of a concentrated finish from my highlight, I really like this Sephora Pro Fan Detail Brush. It fits perfectly in those areas that you want to highlight because of the shape of it. It's like a really dense fan brush. I can still apply it like a fan, but then also give it a slight swirl to really buff it into the skin, and look at that. Looks so different here than it does right here. It's so crazy. Application, technique, and brush really changes the finish of your makeup. And then I'm also gonna use this as an inner corner highlight. For the inner corner, if you wanna be really precise, like you don't want your inner corner to be that intense, you can also use that same tiny Morphe brush or a little pencil brush like this Sigma L04 brush. I'm gonna use this Smith 253. It's almost like a little arrow, so wherever you want concentrated color, that's where the little pointing will go, just right there. And I think that's all, or those are all the brushes that I'm actually gonna be using on my face. I'm just gonna finish the look with mascara, brow gel, and a lip, and I will catch you guys up to speed on what I use afterwards. But the last thing I do is I take my Hourglass brush, even with the shimmery bronzer on that fluffy side, and I just give a light blend across the entire face so that everything looks really soft and diffused. I'm gonna give myself a mist, do those final steps, and then I'm gonna come back and chit chat with you guys. One thing that I have learned from all these years of doing YouTube is to film in something you don't really like, because it always gets messed up. So I always film in a sports bra, and now I change so that, you know, I look a little more put together for you guys at the end of this video and in my intro. Slaytros, if you will. But really quickly, I just want to run through some few additional brushes that I didn't get the chance to use in today's video, and also what I used to complete this look. My lip is Nude Cape by Charlotte Tilbury, my absolute favorite nude lip. It's so nude, it goes with a super colorful look like this one. And the lip liner is another favorite, Makeup Forever Anywhere Caffeine Artist Pencil. And then mascara and brow gels, the usual 24-hour brow setter by Benefit, Voluminous Brown Black on my lower lashes, It Cosmetics on my upper lashes, and then to set everything, I used the Tarte Maracuja Miracle Mist. I used the Patrick Ta fan after I mist. I use this all the time. Any fan will do. It doesn't have to be this one, but I just never thought a fan would be something that I need in my tool collection, and it always comes in handy. Even when I did my friend's makeup for her wedding, I used it on everyone. Give them a little mist. If they start crying, you can tell them to calmate, you know, just like a little Now for brushes, this Kabuki brush from Sephora, it's the Pro Foundation number 70 brush. This I use to buff out any fallout with my actual moisturizer that I use to prep my skin. Sephora, I really do love Sephora Pro brushes. They're really, really good. Pro Featherweight Blending Brush, number 93, super soft brush. I often use this one to sweep away fallout, sweep away powder, also to lightly add highlight as well on the apples. It gives you a really, really soft airbrush application because it's so soft and airy. Smudge brush, this is definitely an essential if you're smudging eyeshadow. Also, I did get a little bit of mascara on my eyeshadow and I used this to just lightly flick it away. This is a Sigma Smudge E21 brush. Sigma Lash Fan E04, similar to the other end of that Smashbox brush, the Lash and Brow Lifter brush from Smashbox. I will actually go in with the fan brush, pick up mascara, and then add it to the base of my lashes to make them look extra full. One that's really important that I want to mention is the LH304 brush. This one is synthetic, really dense. I love this one for cream shadow application, any sort of creamy texture on the eyelids. This is the brush I use. It's super dense, but also blendable. Sephora Pro Packing Shadow Brush, number 13. As the name says, it's just a great shadow application brush. Urban Decay Eyeshadow E211. This one is more of like a larger dome pencil brush. Great for lower lash line, creating a wing. Full coverage shadow brush from Smashbox, just like another great eyeshadow application brush. It's dense, so it's gonna pick up a little more pigment and then you can really pack it on the eyelid. Sigma Precision Firm Blender E42. All of these, it kind of like says it in the name. If you're a cut crease person, I am not. You can definitely create a cut crease with this. Sephora Drawing Shadow brush number 41. A lot softer, still synthetic of a blend. Again, great for a cut crease. These two are very similar, like very, very similar, but I actually prefer the Morphe one more. This is the Morphe E8. And then the smaller one is the Pro Airbrush Detail number 57 brush by Sephora. This one is a little more airy. It fans out a little more. This one's a little more dense. Pretty similar. It's just a matter of like the area that each one's gonna cover. Obviously, you're gonna get a little more coverage, cover a little more ground with the larger one. The IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe No Tug Dual Eyeshadow Brush number 5. I'm actually surprised I didn't use more IT Cosmetics brushes. They make amazing brushes, and I love that this one's dual-ended. So if I'm working with a cream, I'll start the blend with this and then get a little more precise with the smudger end. The Roxette Sigma Beauty brush. This is an F27 Iconic Bronze brush. This one's gonna give you a really nice soft blend. It's incredibly soft to the touch. Hourglass Concealer Brush. This one recently launched with their concealer, which I have yet to try because I don't have the right shade. But this concealer brush is amazing for blending underneath the eye. Also great if you spot conceal and you just need to blend it into that spot but not cover your entire face. You can just lightly cover up a pimple. And then the few little precision brushes that I want to mention that I always have on hand. These two are pretty similar. One's just extremely tiny. Precise Lip Line L06 by Sigma. Look how tiny that is. So incredibly tiny. And then the other one also from Sigma, Waterline Liner E17 brush. I actually use these for cleanup of the lips. So if I get a little carried away and I need to use my foundation to clean it up, I use these to go along the lip. A lip brush, Smith 304. Always gotta have a lip brush in case you need to even out your lip, or maybe like a lip formula is a little more difficult to work with. This one, you can be precise. Small concealer brush from LH 301. An essential for precise work, again, going around the lip, or even if you did your eyeshadow and you still needed concealer right here, you can use it for that. LH 333 angled brush. I'm a huge fan of liquid eyeliners that are already in the felt tip pen form. So this is more so if you're creating a wing with eyeshadow. That's what I tend to use it for. And then this one is super unique. I've never seen anyone do such a precise, tiny, little angled brush. This is a Smith 203. Look at how short and chiseled and stiff this one is. This one's great for detailed work, especially if you want like a tiny winged liner, not like a really large or large and in charged winged liner. This one will do the trick. Oh, the Hourglass foundation brush. This one, the best for blending out cream products on your face. Bronzer, cream blush, patting in concealer, foundation, like what it's meant for. Kyle in the kitchen, making noise. All right, that wraps up this video. I've done a lot of talking, but I hope it was super informative. Clearly, I have a lot of brushes, but these are staples, whether it's creating a video here for you guys on YouTube, on my day-to-day, or when I'm traveling. If it fits in these containers, it's coming with me. I'm packing it in my suitcase, or in this case, it's just gonna sit right here on my desk till further notice. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to share this video with anyone who might be looking around for some new brushes, trying to revamp their collection, or maybe they're a beginner and don't know what exactly they need. I hope this video helps them out. Give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Mwah. I was trying to smack the screen, the lens, and it's so far. Fail. I drink a matcha, just making sure my tongue's not green. What is this line? I feel like Boomer scratched me in my sleep. Like, what is that? This mirror is so dirty. This mirror is so dirty. Psych.